Mattress Money Mafia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fast Guard News. I'm Dwight Gibson.
I'm Roderick Payne.
And today we want to talk to you about employee termination and the steps that you should take when you're terminating an employee, or if you have a disgruntled employee that resigns angrily and makes a threat to return or makes any kind of threat towards management or any of the other employees. So we get these phone calls all the time where either someone's shutting down a plant or they're terminating a department or an individual employee. And sometimes people understand, sometimes they know it's coming, sometimes they don't know it's coming. And in all circumstances, sometimes people don't take it well.
Give me 10 more days. That's all that kept going in my head when you were saying that.
So
Go ahead.
So
man.
there are instances where someone makes a threat, someone has the means to act on said threat. So as an employer, what should you do?
Step one, decide is the threat a credible threat? Because I'm sorry, this is not a funny subject, but we both thinking about the same thing, man. But first, you have to identify as it a credible threat. Like, is this person for real? Do I believe that this person's gonna come by the job and do what they say? Like, we had one call where a guy came back and he was like, he dropped off a paint can to the job and left a note on the paint can saying, "Philip, you're next." Shot holes in the paint can, and it's like,
shot holes in the paint can for context. Before he dropped it off or after he dropped it off?
Once he's already shot.
Okay.
He had a note attached to it. He drove up in front of the job and left it there with the paint bleeding out with a note attached on it. So, "Philip, you're next." So immediately, and again, this is not funny stuff. This is people's lives.
These are real stories.
Yeah, and I think this becomes so funny because I've never, regardless of what I had going on, this is serious side. I've never wanted to hurt somebody because I got let go from a job. Even if it was a complete BS, I've never wanted to come back and hurt somebody. But that's a thing. And when I say
But you have been upset.
I've been upset.
You felt like,
I might leave a one-star review.
They let me work the whole day knowing they was going to fire me at the end of the day.
I always hated that. Then they want to come in with somebody else. All the time you done pulled me aside and talk to me about football. And now you got to, could you meet me in my office?
Hey,
Jeff's going to join us.
Could you, instead of putting those boxes on level 3, can you put them on level 7 and then turn around? Oh, he's going to be done today anyways.
Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So, you people think about things like that. And then I think that way too many people at jobs think about themselves before they think about the corporation. And when you're working in a job, most big companies have a system. It's bing, bang, boom. 1, 2, 3, 4 every time.
Yep.
And when people jump out of sequence, sometimes people have to get let go. Sometimes sales slow down. And people have to get let go. Right now, we're in a government shutdown. They say by 30 days, a certain amount of companies have ran through all of their reserves that have these big federal contracts. So that could be coming up. I don't want to be a fear monger, but the reality is that's on the table right now. This is real news happening right now as we speak. And so when you look at these things, it's like the D-Day scenario. Nobody wants to hear that, World War III and all this stuff. But the reality is you have to be prepared for it. And so step one in how to deal with an unruly employee, look at a person's demeanor. If you decide what they're saying or what they're giving off, because sometimes The smart companies, and don't take this the wrong way, the smart companies are calling ahead of time.
Being proactive.
They're saying we're letting go of somebody. Don't matter what they say, we're going to have armed security there. That's the protocol. But some people are reactive. I've let go of 3,000 people, never needed it before. And then you get Bob, who just got let go from his other job, was depending on his job solely, has a kid that he's taking care of by himself, and now this is like the straw that's going to break the horse's back, and then deal with that let go and the uncertainty. And then again, it, you know, like you said, you let me work the entire day. God forbid I hurt myself on the job. You know what I'm saying? And maybe I'm tired because I've been up all night stressing. All of these things, unfortunately, happen to real people. And when they happen, that's like that whole set off. So now people get to the point where they're going to threaten somebody about the job. Like, okay, you want to do me like that? Knowing I got a family and knowing I got my bills to pay, I'll be back. And ultimately, that's all it takes. You know, it's people have to take this serious. Like, everybody says this thing about going postal, but you know that really happened. There's a person came back with an AK, not AK, but M16, full auto, and went to chopping people in half. You know, these things happen. The guy from FedEx, he said he came in because he was mad at another employee, but like he came in and hurt other people. Active shooters are a real thing. And the reality of active shooter scenario is like, when do you know what's going to happen?
You don't.
But yeah, when if people say, you know what, there's going to be an active shooter, let me call security. You don't. So you have to assume everything's on the open. We deal with a lot of employees. We deal with a lot of placement. We deal with a lot of people. Unfortunately, they show up on site. If a client doesn't like the person that's there, then we have to switch them out. People get angry for all kind of things. And they go off in different ways. And now I think it's more about being proactive. So step one identifies it a credible threat. Is it something? Are they for real? Yeah. I seen them, you know, the one guy we went out to Louisiana, he had a picture with a bunch of his buddies, their faces were blurred out. And then it was him with his face painted, just got done with a combat mission somewhere. Ghana, Afghanistan, somewhere. And so the people at his job seeing that, he had a manifesto written that he was going to kill people in this order.
Yeah.
So, you know, make a police report. Find out if it's serious. Step two, call 911. But what's going to happen is that 911 is not going to be readily available. You and I both know how hard it is to get a police detail. You know, you might have to wait weeks. You might have to book it a month in advance. And then now you're without coverage. They're going to come take the report.
So the police won't just come and hang out to make sure nothing won't happen.
Even when they're looking for them, it depends on the size of the police department. If you're dealing with a police department like the size of the one I worked at, where there might be one or two officers on shift, if they have the availability for off-duty, they'll give one. But a lot of times, big departments...
No, not an off-duty, because an off-duty you have to pay for.
You have to pay for, correct.
But what I'm asking, because one of the things that many clients say is, oh, well, we think we're just going to have the police, you know, cover the detail. But explain for the people that don't understand that that's not the police's function. Police are usually in a reactive function, not a proactive function. So something has to happen, then the police show up to either detain, arrest, or whatever. They're not going to post a car outside for employee termination.
And in many cases, the police will tell you to call private security. They're going to tell you that we're going to come by, take the report, which is their protocol. We'll even increase patrols in the area, but we don't have the manpower on shift to deal with somebody sitting only in your driveway protecting you against a threat. That's privatized. You have to call private security. And so that's when, you know, organizations like Fast Guard get a call, and we're forced to put a security plan together because, you know, how many entrances are there? Does this person, are there badges or biometrics at every entrance? You know, there's a plethora of questions we're going to ask. Do you have a picture of this individual? Do you have a vehicle, make a model? Can we identify this person from a long way away? Or do we, you know, he's going to come in the mix of people and pop up like, hey, surprise. we need to know that, and then we kind of prescribe how many guys you may need, what situation, where they may need to be. We had to do one scenario where they didn't want to cause panic, so they wanted plain clothes, but we had to go in and act as if we were doing an inspection for the home office, just to have a guy in there, and he's in there in plain clothes, armed, just in case this person pops up. They didn't want that whole scenario of that they need security because of one of their teammates.
And then
said.
sometimes we have situations to where they want a strong show of force. Someone inside the building, a marked vehicle outside at the main entrance, so the person knows, hey,
don't
here,
come
don't
here.
try it.
Yeah, don't come here. Yeah, and it's different levels. So for things where everybody knows about it, no matter the organizational size, you got some locations where there's 1,000 people in the building. That's how we ended up at one of the locations we had right down here locally. They had 1,000 people that would change shifts twice a day. And boom, 1,000 people, and then boom, another 1,000 people coming in to replace them. And it was a factory, and they had a employee termination scenario where there's 2 employee entrances, but it's 1,000 people trying to come in through 2 singular doors, and you have to check and all this stuff. So it was a lot. And then everybody at that time had masks on and everything, so that person could have been anybody walking up in there. He was trying to get to the main guy's desk. And we had to block off all the entrances. So depending on the size of the location and what the threat level is, somebody says they're going to get you. We've had to place agents at people's house. We've had to place agents at the subject's house to sit there and surveil them. This is, that if you're going to be proactive about life safety in real time, you're going to need to do whatever it takes. And then, like I said, step 3, call private security, call Fast Guard Service, call for assistance. Don't try to do this on your own. I can give you the recipe right now. Hey, put a guy here, put a guy there. You're going to have road patrol. You're going to do this.
Right.
If that's not your business and you're not a trained professional, then you're ultimately taking a gamble with your life and other people's life in the location.
So
and
what do you say to the client that says, well, we're just going to have, 3 of our employees be on the lookout for the ex-employee to show up, and then we'll just call the police as soon as they see him?
Well, as an employer, it is your job. You have a fiduciary responsibility to provide a safe working environment for your employees. So when you fail to do that, especially when you see it coming, when the person that wrote a letter and said they're going to come back and blow something up, and we're not going to spend any money on that, and then somebody does get hurt, it creates a vacuum, and your money goes into that vacuum. And so people get fired, organizations get shut down. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth it to chance it? That's what it really breaks down to. Is it worth it? Not. This is insurance. This is car insurance. You don't need it until you need it. If you're letting people go in 2025 and beyond, you're going to need some extra help there. Some people like to have us on tap, just like I said, anytime, hey, we're letting somebody go, we need somebody here. We're letting somebody go. That's just their protocol. That's totally fine. But at least think in some way of how you can be, I guess, defensive against somebody that's trying to be aggressive. You shouldn't be scared in your workplace. Your employer shouldn't put you in a situation where you got to fire 30 people at a time. That's a lot of folks. Mass firings, we're going to shut the plant down. Think about the gentleman that called the other day in reference to that, wanting multiple locations covered, like 17 or 20 locations, all with angry people that are getting told today that they're no longer needed there. And the first question I asked him was like, "Hey, does the building have like a firearm sign or like a metal detector?"
Right.
He said, "No, people are allowed to bring whatever they want in the job, so somebody could be in there armed." When you're telling them they're letting go and it could cause that problem. And he's like, whoa, I didn't even think about that. It's like, yeah, you have no sense of control. You might want to do a hard lockdown for 24, 72 hours. Just, hey, we're doing this as an additional protocol. Then let them go. Because you go let them go abruptly, you're kind of setting yourself up for, for the disaster.
How long should an employer engage with employee termination? if they're going to fire the person or the department or the whole plant on a Monday, should the service just be for Monday? Should it be 2 days? Should it be a week? Should it be a month?
I think it should be, if it's going to be on Monday, get the rest of the week. If it's going to be on Tuesday, rest of the week, right? Then you gauge it after the end of that first week and how everybody feels. Most employers get it for 4 weeks at a time. They spend part of the budget on making sure that everybody's safe and comfortable and making sure there's not going to be any conflict going forward, depending on what the threat is. So between 5 days to 7 days minimum. If you're open 7 days a week, have somebody there for that first full week and then gauge it at the end of that and say, okay, well, everybody seems to feel safe. We talked to the guy or the young lady and she doesn't have any hard feelings. We're just going to end it this week. No problem. But like getting it just for the day of, I think that does two things. It pisses people off because they're getting walked out the building and then abruptly, some people going to sit down there and stew. And then they see the security guard leaving. 9 times out of 10, they might come back upstairs. I've seen the little help you had leave. So, you need to kind of switch it up. If having security is not your thing, if something brand new to your business model, then have it for that full week and let the employees get used to seeing somebody there. Let the person that may be watching, that may be angry about something, let them see that person there showing presence, showing command presence, looking like they're not to be messed with. That's what you want. You don't want to take that chance.
As a security professional, what type of personnel do you place on an employee termination detail?
Well, that's a good question. There's two type of guys that I want to employ. The guys that make good decisions under pressure and the guys who train. I don't want any rookies that's going to make a mistake and, in there talking to the young ladies and pull the trigger on his gun and shoot himself in the ass. I want somebody that's going to be there, that's going to be a professional, ex-law enforcement, military, working armed guard more than 10 years, somebody with some experience on how to handle a weapon, and then on top of that, how to react. Because remember, you want people that are trained. You're not just going to put Joe Schmo in there because he's going to get his ass shot off. In some of these scenarios, there are people that really mean what they say and say what they mean. Right. And, if you get caught kind of slipping and not thinking that this could be a reality, like you don't want to send a guard somewhere thinking, nothing's going to happen. This is, that people are calling you because they think, you know what, something might happen. Let me bring somebody in. Let me bring professionally in. As a security professional, you shouldn't send somebody that's prepared for I hope nothing happens because I don't know how the hell to use this gun. When I have a chance, I just took a guy last week to the range that wants to work armed with us. I got to see you pull the trigger. I got to see how you holding the weapon. I got to see your trigger finger control. Are you nervous with the weapon? Are you going to shoot yourself? Are you going to hurt somebody? If something does happen, are you going to be feeling comfortable drawing that weapon and firing that weapon? And that's the reality. Whenever you send armed guys, like the guys that work Brinks probably could tell you better than anybody else. With them armored trucks, they get in a lot of shootouts. So you better be ready to defend yourself if you're wearing a gun and a badge. This is not a joke. It's very similar to working as a law enforcement officer. People are putting you in front of the liability. So, it's that kind of guard that I want, somebody that understands that. When I was working as a police officer, you take an oath. Hey, I swear that, if something happens, if the boogeyman comes, I'm going to be man enough to step up, even if it means my own life, and even if it means I have to take the life of another to protect everybody else, including myself. And so if you're not on that level, then who are you hiring? Somebody going to send I'm not going to discriminate against any type of people or age, but somebody sends somebody that doesn't train and it's obvious and they're out there scared. Imagine what that's going to do. They're going to take his gun and go and hurt everybody.
Okay. So what is, obviously cost is important. And cost is always a sensitive topic in some cases. So how do you deal with the cost of an employee termination service? And then also, not necessarily the cost, but so we recommend getting it for the week. So is that during business hours only? Is that 24/7?
If people are going to occupy the building and that building's gonna be with somebody in it 24/7, then the security need to be there 24/7. If it's only occupied 9 to 5, and then the last person's getting walked out by the guard, that's fine. But even in some cases with that, people have said that they were gonna come vandalize the building, so they want protection for the building as well. So a lot of times people run it 24 hours. It's kind of like a fire watch in that sense. Like you when you get employee termination, usually get it 24 hours. You have somebody greet you when you get there in the morning to unlock, because you just never know these days. You know, we're there for the unknown. We're there for the what if.
Right.
And if there's even a 1% chance, you know, I want to go home to my family. I'm not trying to be in a scenario where I didn't get the protection. Somebody said they was going to come do something, and voila, they showed up, and now they're about to do something, and then now I'm begging them. Nah, not for my job. Like, it's different. Like, and employers have to understand that. Even like managers, they have to understand what powers they have to call in this type of security. You feel unsafe? Call for employee termination, high-risk employee termination security. It's a small price to pay for what it could prevent.
Yeah. There you have it. Well, if you need employee termination security, or if you're thinking about letting someone go, closing down the facility, at a minimum, give us a call. Let us talk you through your options, and then we can decide if employee termination will be best for you. You can reach us online at www.fastguardservice.com or by phone at 844-254-8273. We hope to hear from you soon. Thank you and have a great night.
Have a nice one.
It's Mattress Money Mafia.
I just put up in the